Hey all, this is Ron Coddington from Military Images coming to you on a Monday evening, the last day of February. And I want to welcome everyone who is coming onto this impromptu, unscheduled broadcast. If you missed it, don't worry because we are simulcasting this live on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook. When it's done, it will be archived, so you'll be able to go back and check it out. So it's a nice day for me after the last several weeks of closing our spring issue. So that's off to the printer as of this morning, and we'll be debuting the issue live in person at the DC Photo Show, which is going to be held on March 13th at the Marriott at Dulles Airport. So if you are in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, and surrounding area, and you're planning to go to the show, the evening before, that's March 12th, at the hotel, we'll be having a couple of speakers talking about their collections, and I'll be showing off the issue at that time. So if you don't see it on the evening of the 12th, you can check it out at the show on March 13th. Or if you're a subscriber, you can get it that way as well. If you haven't subscribed, you can go right now, or actually wait till the broadcast is over. Go to shopmilitaryimages.com. We have a variety of options for you. You can subscribe to print. You can get digital. You can get print plus digital. Also, we've got books and other items at the shop. So go to shopmilitaryimages.com and check it out. If you're already a subscriber, get a copy for a friend. Get your renewal done there. All kinds of good stuff. So you can go check that out. What I'm talking about tonight, I see that we have perhaps a critical mass of folks. I see Andrew Garton is on. So Andrew, hope you're doing well this evening. Got a few folks on. So I'm going to go ahead and start talking about tonight's subject. This is a photograph that I recently added to my collection. And I'm going to call it up right now. And let's see here. Here we go. We're going to call up this image. I see Jimmy Lederman is here, and our great advertising director and my mother, Carol Coddington, is here. Thank you all for coming on to check it out tonight. We're talking about this image here. This is an image, as I mentioned, I picked it up recently and added it to my collection. His name is John Savage Delavan. He is, in this picture, he's about 25 years old. He's from New York State originally, attended Union College and graduated with a medical degree, class of 1862. And he joined the Army in the spring of 1864 with the 1st Connecticut Heavy Artillery as an assistant surgeon. So he's a recent medical graduate, medical school graduate, and he's looking to get into the military. He finds a spot in neighboring Connecticut in early 1864. So, pardon me. We'll take a look at the back of this image just to share it with you. This is taken in Albany, New York. Those of you who are new to collecting or not a collector but interested in Civil War photography or carte de visite photography, which is what we're looking at here. This is a format, the carte de visite, that became popular around the beginning of the Civil War in America. You're looking at the back of the cardstock mount right now, and we see the back mark of the photographer's imprint, also known as. This is Churchill and Dennison of Albany, And they are perhaps best known for a wonderful series of photographs they did a little bit later after this photograph was taken. This is probably early 1864. Churchill and Denison, a little bit later on that year, took pictures of the sanitary fair, an amazing series of images of the sanitary fair, which raised money to support the Union soldiers. You'll also see there is a piece of paper that is pasted on this with Delavan's signature. You can see it was taken from an album. There's some modern pencil notes along the bottom taken from the Delavan Kierg album. And then on top are some particulars about the soldier, about Delavan's enlistment. So go back to the front here. What caught my attention more than anything about this photograph, really one particular item. And let's see if we can make it so you can see. Whoop, here we go. Here it is. Take a look at his insignia. What we're seeing here is, and I'll come in just a little bit closer so we can get an even better look at him. All right, let's come in even a little bit closer. We have a high resolution image here. So take a look at this insignia on his shoulder. For those of you who are knowledgeable about Civil War Union Army insignia, this is familiarly known as a shoulder strap. This is the insignia that was worn by officers to denote their rank. This particular rectangular insignia has a single bar, which would be a first lieutenant's rank, which was the equivalent of an assistant surgeon. Now, because we're looking at this in black and white, or in sepia, to be fair, the field, that long rectangular field upon which the bar is sitting, looks like it's black, looks like it's very dark. In reality, it was green, which was the color of the medical corps. You will also notice that it is plain black. There is no ornamentation, and you have that single small bar. Now, this is known popularly today as subdued rank. And this subdued rank was worn by officers. It was becoming more common towards the very end of the Civil War, during that last year of the war, because sharpshooters were becoming, well, they were always active, but particularly active around Petersburg, around Richmond, during the siege-like conditions that were going on during that part of 1864 and 1865. Officers made easy targets for rebel sharpshooters. And so the idea of subduing your rank or toning down your rank became something of a practice in the Union Army. You might even describe it as something of a form of camouflage. I don't know that the parallel is quite there, but you get the idea. Just to give you an idea of what an unsubdued rank, or what a normal rank might look like, a normal shoulder strap might look like. Here we have an assistant surgeon who was, this particular photograph is not identified, but it came out of an album from the Ira Harris Hospital in New York. And you can see that this officer is wearing a green tinted sash, which would have marked him as an officer. And you can see, I'll come up a little closer so you can get a sense of those shoulder straps, and you'll see he has that single bar, but you can also see that that shoulder strap has gold braid around the edges of it. So it's pretty easy to imagine that the heavily gold braided insignia, the shoulder strap, worn by this surgeon was much more eye-catching to a sharpshooter than the one worn by Assistant Surgeon Delavan. So here he is wearing his subdued rank. The question comes up, well, why exactly was he wearing it? You might think that because he was working in a hospital or perhaps a field hospital, that he might be far enough away from the front lines where subduing your rank or trying to keep a low profile was not something that he had to worry about. You might think so. I became curious to try to find out what exactly was the story behind it. So I began to dig into Surgeon Delavan's backstory. I see a couple more folks have come on here. BK Turner, thank you for the note there on his rank. And Liz Topping, glad you're here. So back to the story. I did a little digging around to try to find out, why was Assistant Surgeon Delavan wearing subdued rank? Why did he need to wear rank that hid his identity a little bit? What circumstances did he find himself in that he needed to do that? So I poked around a little bit at his record. He was clearly around Petersburg and Richmond during that time. And that gives us some information. The fact that his regiment, the 1st Connecticut Heavy Artillery, was in and about Richmond and Petersburg in 1864 and 1865 is a clue, but it doesn't tell us that he was actually there. He might have been far off the front lines. He may have been at a hospital in Fredericksburg or even Washington, D.C. on some detached duty. So just knowing that his regiment was there isn't quite enough information for me to satisfy my interest to know why he was wearing this rank. A little more research, I found a report, and the report is written by Colonel Henry Abbott of the 1st Connecticut Artillery. Now, this is a different regiment than the 1st Connecticut Heavy Artillery, but the 1st Connecticut Artillery, Abbott and his men, were also in Richmond and Petersburg in 1864 and 1865. Well, Colonel Abbott does us the favor of writing a report of the activities of his regiment. And in that rather long report, he has a few paragraphs that he dedicates to the medical arm of the service. And in that part of his report, he mentions some of the officers by name and where they were. Some of the medical officers by the name and where they were. And in doing so, he reveals not only the effectiveness of the medical corps during that part of the war in the hotly contested siege zone of Richmond and Petersburg, but he also gives us a really valuable clue. He gives us kind of the smoking gun, if you'll pardon the expression, for why Delavan is wearing that rank. So it's really 2 paragraphs. And in the first paragraph, Colonel Abbott talks about the effectiveness of the medical corps during this part of the siege. And keep in mind, we're talking about 19th century Victorian flourish language. Colonel Abbott says, advantage has been taken of the comparative stability of the command to have all the regimental sick properly cared for by Surgeon S.W. Skinner, 1st Connecticut Artillery, who has organized one of the best field hospitals I have ever seen. Those of you who know reports know that these colonels and commanders like to give shout outs to their subordinates. So here he's complimenting his surgeon and saying he ran a great field hospital. This next part is interesting. The patients have varied from 30 to 70 in number. Okay, That gives us a little clue. At any given day, you had anywhere between 30 and 70 folks in the hospital. Now, he says this is where it becomes important because we're in a field hospital that's close up to the front lines. He says, by avoiding the sending of those lightly diseased to general hospital, much has unquestionably been done to keep the numbers in the command. So what he's telling us is those 30 to 70 guys that are going in and out of the hospital, by not having to send them up further to the general hospital and keeping them closer, the ones that are lightly sick, they can quickly turn them around and bring them back into the command and put them back into the front lines. Now, those soldiers might not have been so happy about that, but for Colonel Abbott, who needs men to reinforce the artillery batteries and all of that, it was good news. He goes on to say, the comforts of the patients have been quite unusual for the field, owing to the attention of the surgeon in charge, another nod to his subordinate, and to the efforts of Chaplain S.F. Jarvis, 1st Connecticut Artillery, who has actively exerted himself in their behalf. So Colonel Abbott is telling us that his surgeon and his chaplain are up there on the front lines in a field hospital, taking care of 30 to 70 men on average every day and getting them back into action as soon as possible. Okay, so you get the general idea, the general layout of the land. Now, the next paragraph, we get to our good friend, Surgeon Delavan, with the subdued shoulder straps. Right off the top, he leads the paragraph. Assistant Surgeon J.S. Delavan has devoted himself to the sick of the regiment in the batteries in front of Petersburg. There you have it. And Assistant Surgeon N. Watson, until broken down by his exertions, to those in command on the lines of Bermuda 100. So here Colonel Abbott is talking about Delavan, and he's placing Delavan for us in front of Petersburg, making it his special duty. It's Delavan's special duty, his special charge. He's assigned this to himself to be able to take care of these men. So Surgeon Delavan on the front lines in Petersburg, he's wearing subdued rank. Why? Because he's on those front lines and he does not want to be shot by sharpshooters. It's probably no more complicated than that. So there you have it. That's our story about Surgeon Delavan. Now, the story for Delavan has something of a happy ending because he survives his service and musters out in March of 1865, just before the end of the war. He does not live a long life. He passes away in 1885 at about age 45. I haven't done the full research yet, so I do not know his cause of death, but of course I'll be looking into that, and we'll mention that at some point in his profile when I post that on flickr.com, which is where I keep all the images from my collection for folks to enjoy. So that's tonight's story about the subdued rank of Surgeon John Savage Delavan, MD, of the 1st Connecticut Heavy Artillery. I hope you've enjoyed this impromptu conversation, impromptu review of Surgeon Delavan's contributions, and hope you enjoyed the answer as to why this medical officer in the Civil War was wearing a subdued rank. So thank you for staying tuned. If you watch this live, really appreciate it. If you're watching this on an archived version of YouTube in particular, give us a like and follow us. Take care. Have a great night. Bye.